Thank you for joining us for our final segment. And we have with us this morning Victor Shaw, who is the sports fishing coordinator for the Coastal Zone Management Authority and Institute. We also have with us Kyle Castillo, who is the marketing officer for CZMAI. And we have Ariese Briceno, who's the sales marketing and assistant. You're here this morning, guys, to tell us about why you guys have on these fancy t-shirts with the sports fishing sign on it and campaign. Talk to us about it.
So recently, as recent as last week, we proceeded with our new sign campaign, where we partnered with municipalities. We started in the south, namely Dangriga, Hopkins, and Placencia, where we installed signs basically to bring the public aware of the sport fishing species, the species of fish that we are trying to protect in order to have the sport fishing market be sustainable over a certain period of time.
What is sports fishing? Maybe I should have started there.
Yeah.
Because I know about eat fishing.
So fishing include what? Your lobster fishing, your conch diving, your...
So it's better to rely on the laws for these things because that's the only legal definition that would stand in court. So sport fishing defined by the law under statutory instrument 115 is any activity for leisure or competition, and that one does rather for leisure or competition, whether you're fishing to have fun, whether you're fishing in a tournament, whether you're just going out with the family with a bonding experience with the kids and you say, hey guys, let's go fishing. It's as long as the end game is to have fun and not to have subsistence to eat or to sell, then that's sport fishing. If it's to sell, that's commercial fishing, and it's just if you want to catch one big fish to carry home and eat with the family, that's subsistence fishing, and that falls under completely different categories. Anything outside of those two, we consider as sport fishing.
So it doesn't determine catch and release, because I thought that sports fishing determined.
No, so we encourage catch and release, but it doesn't necessarily mean you have to catch and release. There are some species protected by law for this purpose. Those are the bonefish, permit, and tarpon. Only 3 protected in Belize as catch and release only. While the other fish species like the marlins and whatnot, we encourage catch and release because the numbers are going down, but you can still catch and keep the wahoos, the dorados, and that is still considered sport fishing if you catch those fish species.
Yeah, interesting. So catch and release is a voluntary choice that your sports fishermen are making?
Yes, so we have roughly about 1,000 sport fishing guides. I'll try to practice catch and release. Again, I must emphasize that there are 3 fish species that are protected, and that was the basis of this campaign, that you don't have a choice with.
Yeah.
If you catch them, you have to release them alive.
Okay.
Right. While the others, we do champion the mentality, because what we found out is it's much easier to get the end result, which is a sustainable fishery, if there's a change in mindset, rather than you practicing good behavior because you're afraid of the law. You should practice it because you want good things to happen. In this case, being a sustainable fishery moving into the future.
What is the economic? What is the economic number? How much money does Belize get from or spend in sports fishing?
Honestly, we can only quantify a small percent of that. With only the 3 fish species that we are currently looking at, we are making well over 100 million Belize dollars per year. When I say we, I don't mean the government, I mean the country, because it goes into the guides, the flights to get here for those who want to participate, the overnight cost of staying at the lodges and whatnot. So all of that, the last study was published in 2013.
Yeah, that was the question I wanted to go to. We've seen where there's been a professionalization of sports fishing, because where people used to just go fishing and it didn't matter, they would just do what they do. We know that there is an increased demand from foreigners coming into the country who want to fish, and a lot of Belizeans as well, who this is their favorite pastime. So what are the requirements under the law if someone wants to go out and what you're saying, I thought it was you have to be out on a boat. If I go out on a pier in Belize City, and I want to fish just for fun. I'm a sports fisher.
Yes.
Good.
So the legal requirements, first of all, under statutory instrument 115, there is the need for a coastal zone sport fishing license. My good friend over here, Ms. Briceno, is actually responsible for that.
Yeah.
And the way how you get that is, first you have to be a Belizean resident. And I should speak about exemption first, because people like to hear about free stuff. So if you're a Belizean resident and you're under 16 years of age, you get a free 1-year license. You just have to go to the department, show your ID, that you're Belizean and that you're under 16, and that license is free. Also, if you're over 65 and you're a Belizean resident, again, the license is free. Between 16 and 65 now, you have to pay a cost. So it's either, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's 20?
It's $20 for the 1 day, and then it's $50 for the 1 week, and then it's $100 for the 1 year.
1 year.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fair.
How many licensed sports fishers do we have?
In terms of who purchase?
Yeah, on a yearly basis, how many people get licenses for sports
On
fishing?
average, it's hard to calculate, because then we have online and then we have in-house.
Okay.
So we can't really monitor how much.
Okay.
From working with stakeholders at Ballpark for the guides themselves,
Yeah.
we're capturing about 90% for the professional guides, for those who just do it for fun. And that's part of the reason for this campaign is, for some people do it for fun, like you said, at the dock, but they have no idea that there's regulations governing it. So those people would benefit from such a sensitization campaign for them to know that they need a license and that these fish species are protected.
Yeah. So when they go to Caye feeding the tarpons, it's not about taking them out. You're not allowed to under the law,
So
which will be your easiest catch.
I'm a bit worried now. You're telling me that if I take my daughter out to the seafront and go in front of the pier by the park there and drop a line, I need a license for that?
Yes, essentially, if you're practicing sport fishing, you need a license. Your daughter is under 16?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
she's
that's-
8.
Yeah, so she doesn't need a license.
But I'm the one really
But
So
you-
she holds the fishing line at the time,
But yes, essentially you do. And the reason for this is, and I should ask, would you catch that fish to eat it?
No, I'm just being
What would you do with it?
No, because we
Of
have to
course, to eat
first
it.
differentiate. Remember in the beginning I said
To
if
eat it,
it's
yeah.
to catch and eat, then that's subsistence fishing, that's a different category. So, but your end game is to catch it and just have fun.
to catch it and eat it. Let's say we want to eat one. Make a
Yeah,
nice
that's
syrup.
that's
Subsistence
subsistence
fishing.
fishing. That's different.
So I don't need a license for that.
No,
That's okay.
that's to catch and eat. That's
Yeah.
why, and that's why in the beginning I tried to differentiate it, because I don't
Yeah.
want anyone to get worried and start
Yes.
reeling at the screen.
Now, if you go out there to just catch it and say, "Oh, look, this is pretty. Let's put it back," or not use it.
Yeah.
Then I need a license for that.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, 'cause-
Don't catch it just for Instagram, please.
Yeah, sir. Because we decided to in the different municipalities to place the signs in places where the fish. So in Dangriga, we partnered with the Dangriga Town Council, Mayor Humphreys. He partnered with us and allowed us to put the sign at the Dangriga Fish Market,
Okay.
where there's a lot of traffic and many of the fishermen may not be sensitized to these different. They might sell these different type of fish in the fish market. Yeah, so. Maybe you understand, we can't assume that they know, so
Yeah.
the purpose of the signs is to put them there. Similarly, we placed one in Hopkins. Hopkins is traditionally a fisherman village, so we put one at the entrance of Hopkins, and in Placencia as well, we placed one on the dock.
And you have one in Sardinia.
No, well, the initial part of the campaign was to head down south.
Yeah.
The idea is to
Phases.
phase across the country and.
So let's be
Yes.
very clear. What you're saying is, whether you are a commercial fisherman or a sports fisherman, you are not allowed to take out of the water tarpon.
Permit, and bonefish.
Okay. What are the implications if you do?
If you get caught, then the legal recourse, or rather they find that you would be charges up to $500 cash or 6 months imprisonment. And I believe that's the
Minimum.
the minimum for any infraction by law. I haven't read many, but
So what you're saying is people are still taking these protected species out of the water and even selling it at the fish market?
Yeah, so from feedback from stakeholders and anecdotal information I've received, and that was why we headed down there in the direction of doing this sensitization campaign, was that there is still a number of people that do not know about their protected status, and they catch and kill these fish species and even sell them at the local market. And it's really bad, because then that again hampers the economy, because of not only the gain we get from the sport fishing species, but also the livelihood of the guides that depend on it. We're basically looking at 2,000 plus Belizeans who depend on this fishery. If we continue to catch and kill them and the fishery is wiped out, that's 2,000 less Belizeans with jobs.
Yeah.
And that would really hurt this economy.
If I'm an innocent fisher, I'm going out there and I'm innocent, but I don't know what a tarpon is, I don't know what a bonefish is.
Or you just catch it.
Or you don't know. What is there for me? How do I know that this is a
protected species? Yeah, so with the sign campaign, we actually have the pictures of the fish species on it. So we're not just saying these three and just giving you a name. we have the pictures of the fish. Also, if you do catch a fish, because you can't control what gets on the hook.
Yes.
That's why we say catch and release, because there is the possibility of releasing the fish. A fish can survive. One of these fish, actually all three of them can survive up to about 40 to 50 seconds out of the water.
So you have time to unhook them.
Exactly. What we recommend is that you spend no more than 30 seconds. But I understand that if it's a geo hook and it's large, that it might take a geo hook for hand lines. If that's large in their throat, then I'm sure it won't take 30 seconds to get out. In that case, we advise you just cut the line and release the fish. More than likely, it will survive. Some hooks these days are designed that they dissolve within the water over an extended period of time, so it won't harm the fish.
How is this policed? Do you have the capacity to police it?
Yeah, so that's a question that came up a lot, and I have good news for you guys. So we're partnering with different enforcement agencies through MOUs in order to enforce it. Yeah. It doesn't make sense that coastal zone invest in an enforcement arm when we already have established enforcement agencies. It's going to just be a duplication of efforts, so rather we're supporting the actions of our partners in order to get.
So like your fisheries officers.
Yeah, so we're fisheries is a potential partner we're looking towards, and we're looking towards working with other co-managers within protected areas as well, because they have set patrols that they do.
All right, so you said that ideally if you catch any one of these species, you need to release it. If you can't unhook it, cut the line and let it go. And if you do, in fact, or if you are found with any one of these species, there are fines and possible imprisonment. What about people who are fishing without a license? What are you doing there? What are you telling people?
To get a license is, if you really think about it, a license is fairly cheap. If you're a Belizean and you get a 1-year license because you're always going to be fishing, we take it, right? And that's just $100 for the year. That's less than $1 a day. That's because we have changed. So that's less than 30 cents a day if you really look at it. So why risk the getting caught and having to pay $500 rather than invest little under 30 cents a day for a valid license? I mean, we're just trying to help people avoid getting in trouble with the law, and also encouraging compliance, because we do have other fishers who really depend on this more than just fun. Right? So
talking about compliance, one of the big issues that we had another guest when they came in to talk about gillnet fishing. A lot of Guatemalans and Salvadorians, I believe. Hondurans, sorry, come over and do fish illegally in our waters. Is there any mechanism to address that issue in terms of the licensing for them, and how do we deal with that section of the population?
First of all, I think that would have to be, because that's a boundary issue now, we're getting into the realm of illegal fishers within our waters, so that would have to be addressed through immigration first, and before they could even come and get a license.
Fishing at all?
Yes, I believe it does. Again, I don't have solid proof. I could only work with my stakeholders to get our anecdotal information. They are suspected to be impacting as down south in the saltwater key area, but we haven't done any studies to like track to what degree. We could only assume that any type of illegal fishing is damaging to the stocks, But that issue has to be handled
Yeah.
through immigration.
What are we hearing from our sports fishers? How much have they bought into the protection mechanisms that are, I mean, for example, we've had the Game Fishing Association here quite a few times, and they are big advocates for catch and release, which is strange because they're the ones who'd be most proud with the picture with the big fish, right? But they're looking at sustainable fisheries. Tell me what the buy-in has been like across the board. That's one association, but are other people in tune with the fact that there has to be action now to ensure that they can continue this hobby later?
So, with the recent travels down south, we've met mostly with people who this is their livelihood. So, naturally, speaking to them, there's major buy-in because this is their livelihood. This is most of them are entrepreneurs. They rely on this industry basically. So, in terms of getting things to be enforced and encouraging this type of sustainable fishing, it's the public that we're more bringing awareness to, because from the people who are within the industry themselves, they are very big advocates of
and
what
just
we're
to be
doing.
clear, the industry you're talking about, it's predominantly fly fishers, right? Tour guides for fly fishing?
Yeah, so it's predominantly flat fishing. There are some that do offshore fishing and reef fishing, but the greater percent is the flat fishery. And I should mention, because my stakeholders are listening, that before these fish got protected, it was actually the stakeholders that championed it. So it's not necessarily a top-down decision in which the government saw the need to protect. It was the fishers, the sport fishers, that saw the need to protect, and they championed the activity. They brought in researchers to justify the economic value. So it was really a bottom-up decision, and that's why it's so easy to work with these guys, because the buy-in was there before we started to protect. Now we're
what tourist wants to come to Belize and they won't catch, right? If you come to fly fishing, that's their greatest marketing tool that they have.
Yeah, and that's my question. What is our biggest selling point from a marketing standpoint when we are selling Belize to the world? What distinguishes Belize from any other sports fishing destination in the world?
I mean, naturally speaking, we have the second largest barrier reef in the world itself. So, without necessarily having to push sport fishing, particularly in the front, that in itself is a natural draw. What we do in addition to that is, well, not us specifically, but you understand the different agencies. They sell the fact that these different sport fishing species are here in abundance, and so without us putting in place these protections for these different species, then we lose the draw that we have in terms of bringing people here to catch these fish, as Marlene mentioned. Understand?
Another big draw, and if you Google sport fishing Belize, what Belize is known for is actually having the best permit fishing in the world. Down south.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we are set aside in that regard. If you would look in very popular sport fiction magazines such as Yellow Dog, if they recommend top 10 destinations, as long as they're talking about
Belize
permit.
number one.
Exactly. Belize is set.
So that's why you gotta keep the fish in there.
Yeah. So and that's why we do get
That's
a lot
of money
action.
to spend for no catch all the way here.
That, and because I don't know if you, now this is going more to towards, like you said, why people come. There's a prospect of catching a Grand Slam in Belize. And with some lodges, they have so much Grand Slam under their belt, it's almost guaranteed. And the Grand Slam is the permit bonefish and tarpon protected. If you catch those within a 24-hour period, that's a Grand Slam. If you go the extra step and catch a snook as well, that's a super Grand Slam. And the prospect of catching that in Belize is really high. I mean, like, if you are with
don't
season,
like me, you're just
So this is why it's not just, and I think what we're mentioning here is because it goes beyond sustainable fisheries. It's also looking at the livelihood of people who are involved in this tourism industry, whether it's the chef at the lodge or the boatman or the tour guide. And the families, of course.
Even the tackle shops themselves, the local tackle shops, people come here and purchase, be it whatsoever they purchase. You understand me? It has many different dynamics within the economy as well.
trickle down.
Awesome. So what is the key message to people at this point in time?
Don't catch bonefish, tarpon, and permit without a license. If you do catch them, release them. And don't eat them. Yes.
Do we have pictures of what they look like? This is
a permit.
Permit.
They do,
fish.
and I could pretty much outline how you can recognize it at the local market, just so you don't buy it again. If you're caught with it, that's illegal. This one is actually always sold as fillet. It has pretty white meat, and that's why it has a draw towards it. The fish itself is flat, and the tail is always like a sickle that you see at the back. It's pointed, so if you see a fish like this, don't buy it. It's more than likely a permit. There is another species, the pompano, but people often mistake the two. The only difference being the pompano is smaller.
That is your?
This is the tarpon, the silver king. It's really hard to miss this fish because it's so huge. But also, if you do have a piece of it and you're not sure if it's that, the scales are about 3 inches.
Oh, those are
and
big
that's
scales.
as a pescatarian, I can say I eat fish every day. But there's a
Not
requirement
tarpon,
that
right?
you. Well, that's the question.
Check his fridge.
there's a requirement that you leave a certain square of the
patch of skin.
patch of skin on it.
Yes.
But a lot of times I really don't see it. And as a consumer, you're just there trying to buy fillet. You don't say, well, I want snapper fillet or I want, unless it's filleted in front of you. A lot of time it isn't. What can you do in a scenario where it doesn't have the patch on? Just don't buy it?
Yeah, so the advice for that is, and although I would like to say just not buy it because
it has to sell.
Yeah, it has to sell and people will definitely still buy fish. My advice would go to someone you trust, a trusted fisher. Not all fishers, and I must say not all fishers engage in illegal fishing. There are some fishers who know that it's best for the economy to do sustainable fishing. Yeah. And usually at the local markets, because we're starting to work with the municipalities, we hope that in the future there is less illegal product at these local markets. So it's the best advice was trust your local markets, especially the ones that we're partnering with, because the probability of the product being illegal is low. And you also get really quality fish. Yeah. So that is the one advice for now, although I think in the future we'd have to see how we could help support just getting people to comply with the skin patch.
Yeah.
If I could just add really quick, like I said earlier, Mayor Humphreys in Dangriga, he went that extra step and promised us that he would put people within the market because that's in the town council's realm. So he would put people in the market to like help monitor that.
I wish more people would follow his
lead. And this is?
Because of the angle, I'd like to see a bonefish, but it doesn't have the stripes, so I don't think it is.
Now, just making sure that the viewers will be able to tell for themselves which fish is. We saw the permit, we saw the tarpon.
That's
the permit.
Again.
Yeah. All right, we'll get a bonefish picture, just so people know. But
I should say that because the audience, if they are familiar with the fish, well, not the fish, but are you guys familiar with fish panades or fish meatball?
What? Yeah. Of course, man.
Predominantly
That's what we have for lunch.
Predominantly in the past in the north and in Orange Walk, the main ingredient was bonefish.
Oh, yeah. Didn't it used to be shark?
Talk about shark some people use shark, but if you would, and I suspect that some people can't tell the difference between the taste of shark and fish.
I wouldn't be.
Yes, that's the bonefish.
There we go. Yes. There's our bonefish.
Yeah,
very important because you can see the patterns on
the stripes. So with the bonefish, you usually tell from, you see how on the side, there's a stripe between the transition between the color of the scales. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's usually how I tell a bonefish. Again, I'm not an avid sport fisher, so some guys might just be able to see the nose and tell you if it's a bonefish or not.
What is also illegal, correct me if I'm wrong, is the things that we make fish balls from, which is the scrapings from they sell it as scrapings, which is they take the fish and when you fillet the fish, the little pieces
Oh.
Isn't that also illegal? Because you can't tell what it is.
Yeah, so I'm not sure about the legal context of that, so I wouldn't want to comment. I don't want to give you the wrong information.
I want to know so when I'm buying, I'm not, I have to hide it or I have to, don't buy it at all.
Well,
That
I
a
think
mentality
what
to
he
try
said
and
is
say.
fine, because there's also the fish right, eat right movement too, and I think, once you find someone who's bought into what is the right thing to do with fishing, perhaps you can purchase from them. But let's go back to some of the details as well. We showed you the fishes that you're not supposed to take out. You're not, once you catch it, release it. But also you should get your sports fishing license as well. You said there's an online component.
Yes,
Tell us a bit about how people go through that process.
It's on our website. If you know our name, you type that in and it takes you directly to our website. On the
Coastal Zone
website,
Management.
yes, the Coastal Zone Management Authority and Institute. There's a little picture to the side that says buy sports fishing license here, and it's fairly simple, the application. You enter your information, your credit card, and you're sent an email. If your email is entered incorrectly, you're sent an email within a minute.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
And then if you're stopped while fishing, you need to be able to present
Yes,
that,
you
right?
need.
So even as a tourist, if you come in, you need to get that fishing
Yes,
license.
most people tend to buy it before they even come on the trip. I have people buying a month or 2 or sometimes 3 in advance.
Okay.
Yeah, so they make sure they have them.
Yeah. All right. And the signs are now out in the south.
In the
and
south, in
Yes.
Dangriga, Hopkins, and Placentia.
And coming to the north soon.
Yes, definitely. Fairly quickly, CZMAI is also in charge of the management of Goff ski. So we have a Goff ski excursion coming up this week, this Sunday,
yes.
April 7th. So could contact Ariese, that's the number.
Our number is 223-5739 if you're interested in buying tickets.
Cost?
For adults, it's 35, and for kids, it's 25.
All day.
Nice.
Yes, all day. We provide the transportation, and that cost also covers the entry fee to the island.
Awesome.
There will be food and drinks on sale, so you don't have to take your own, but you are welcome to take it as well.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you very much for coming in and letting us know all that's happening, and best of luck.
Thank you.
We're going to go ahead and take that final break, and when we come back, we'll have our wrap-up, so stay tuned.